Hello designers and welcome back to another Affinity Designer tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at anime style design. We're going to recreate an image we find on the stock tab, and we're going to create it all in vector using all the tools at our disposal, and then we're going to customize it slightly, and hopefully this will give you more confidence in designing and using this program. So let's jump right into it. And we're in Affinity Designer. My document is set up already. If you want to see the dimensions, it's 1920 by 1080 pixels, 72 dpi. It's not necessary, but if you're following along with me and you want everything to be the same, then there it is. Okay, so we're going to be choosing an image and we're going to be tracing around it and trying to recreate it. We're going to look at how it was made and see how we can make it in Affinity Designer all in vector. Okay, so what do we need first? We need the image. So let's go over to the stock tab on the right hand side, click on that. Make sure Pixabay is selected over here and it's ticked under vector, and in the search bar we're going to type in anime eyes. Press return, and you see down at the bottom here DG-RA. We're going to click and drag that one onto our document, and here it is. So this photo was made by DG-RA and it's from Pixabay. I haven't done a lot of anime illustrations before or anything. So I'm quite interested to see how they make the eyes, because the eyes are huge on these characters, like way bigger than they should be in real life. But I guess that's why they show quite a lot of emotion. So I like that. So I'm going to choose this one here. So I don't want all of these other faces getting in the way. So we're going to head on over to the vector crop tool on the left hand side. Click on that. Now we've got a blue line around it. We can click from the side and just crop it in like that. And we'll do that on all of the sides. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to switch to the move tool, which is V. Just press V on the keyboard, or you can go up here and click it. There it is, move tool. So let's have a look at the image we have. So in Affinity Designer, we use vectors, and every time we create a new shape, it creates a new layer. So I'm just going to head from our stock tab to our layers tab, and you can see in layers we only have one in there, and that's our embedded document, the one we've just dragged over from the stock tab. So if I was to create another shape, there would be another layer. So I'll just go ahead and grab the ellipse tool and just drag one out like that. You see, as I've let go, there's now a new layer in there. So let me just delete that, just press delete. So every time we create a layer, it will end up there. So sometimes it's good to see how many layers there are if you're like tracing around something. So I would say the hair at the back there, that's one layer. And then going forward, the next layer would be the shoulders, and then it would be the head, and then it would be the hair, and then it would be the eyes and everything like that, because they are going over the hair here. We're not necessarily going to be doing everything in that order today, because I guess if we started on the back bit there, it would be a little bit boring. So I'm going to start by drawing out the hair outline. So what I'm going to do is grab the pen tool, and that is over here in the tools bar. Shortcut for that is P on your keyboard. So just click on that, and before we start drawing anything, let me just tell you about the stroke and the fill. I won't go too far into this because I have created a few tutorials about this, and check out my pen tutorial if you haven't already, the pen tool and node tool tutorial. But basically, stroke is our line. So if I just draw one out here, this black line here is called our stroke. The fill is what's inside. So if let's just finish off this shape. Okay, that's got nothing inside of it. So if we want to fill it with a color, then we choose the fill. So up here, click on fill, choose a color, and there we go. It's done. Also, just as a note, over in the colors tab in the top right hand corner, this is the same thing. This donut is the stroke and this circle is the fill. If you ever want to get rid of the fill or the stroke, you just click this little circle here, the little white one with the red line through it. Click that, get rid of that. You can also do it from over here. So if I wanted to get rid of the stroke, I'd click that as well. But actually, I'm just going to delete this whole layer. Okay, so we want to start with a black stroke. So up here in the donut, top right hand side, click and drag, we have a black stroke. Okay, let's go in and make our first point. Before I do that, when I'm tracing, I like it to be a little bit grayed out so that the black line can pop out and I can see what I'm doing. So the embedded document is down here. It's already selected. The opacity is here. we're going to click on that and just drag it down, maybe to around there. And we're going to head on over and create our first point. So I've clicked once, that has created a square. That's called a sharp node, and that's what usually you would use in a sharp corner like that. So I will click on my next point. So I'm going to choose somewhere like this, click and drag out to the right. So you see now we've got this kind of squiggly line. Our stroke is moving all over the place. If I wanted to keep it straight as I'm going in a straight line like that, I would just hold down Shift. By the way, I am using a Mac, so some of the keys will be slightly different, but I will leave little information in the description. So I'm holding down Shift right now, and if I go up and down, you can see it's moving in 45-degree increments. This is better, it gives me more control right now. So I'll let go, and you can see as I've let go, in the layers panel, we have our first shape. It says curve there. We're not finished yet. We'll name that hair afterwards. So I've done that. I'll choose my next point. I'm probably going to put it here. Yeah, that looks okay to me. Okay, so next point, click and drag up. At this point, I will hold the Shift key again. I can drag up in a straight line. If I zoom in to see whether I've done a good job, yeah, it's okay. If you did mess up a little bit, you can always press Command Z to go back a step. Or if you want to manipulate these shapes a little bit more, you can do that too. Now, I'm not going to go crazy in depth. As I've said, I've made a full pen and node tool tutorial, but I will show you what's needed to get the job done here. So currently I'm in the pen tool. And if I want to manipulate these nodes or these handles over here, then I can quickly switch to the node tool, which is over here. Shortcut is A. But rather than do that, I like to just switch from the pen tool to the node tool, kind of in a shortcut fashion. So right now in the pen tool, if I click on Command and keep my finger on it, you see the node tool symbol appear. So with this, you can see that the handles light up a little bit, and that means I can go and grab those and mess around with them. So holding down Command, I will click and drag this out. And look, as I'm dragging, you can see that at the top it's moving a little bit as well. I don't want that. So if I keep my finger on Shift also, so right now my finger is on Command and Shift, it will keep it in a straight line and allow me to play around with this handle. I'll click on the next bit here and just drag out. Okay, for this next bit, I can't just click and drag here because it will just turn out like this, and that's not what we want. So I'll press Command Z to go back. What I'm going to do, there's a couple of ways to do this, but today I'm just going to be showing you this way. If you head on over to the handle here and you just hover over it, if you press Alt, it slightly changes. The little symbol is like a little sharp corner. I'll just click once and we've gotten rid of that handle, and that has created a sharp node down here. So from this point, I'll just click and drag on the next bit I want to go to, and I will keep doing that, rinse and repeat. And I'm going to speed up this section just because we'll be here all day otherwise. Okay, I'm going to speed through this one until there's something useful. We work our way all the way around to our first point, and you can see as I hover over, that little symbol turns into a circle, which means we've completed the shape. So click and drag and the shape is complete. So before I do anything else, I like to keep my layers tidy. So I will just call this hair. So I've gone over to layers and I'll just name it hair. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is create this this kind of reflection here. Let me just bring up the opacity of that layer underneath. So yeah, I'm going to create this kind of reflection on the top of the hair, and I'll show you a little trick that doesn't require you to like click and drag. Okay, so click once with the pen tool, and instead of clicking and dragging out like that, I'll just press back actually. So instead of doing that, just click once, and you can just click on all of these points up like this. And it's slightly quicker to do it this way sometimes, not always. If I just press Command, which switches to the node tool, I can just click on this line. You see there's a little squiggly line here. I just click and drag that up. I can manipulate that shape pretty much to meet all of those lines. So it looks like doing a pretty good job here. And sometimes this is a lot quicker. Takes the guesswork out at least. And you see here it hasn't quite worked. So I just press Command and just drag that handle up a little bit and drag this one down a little bit. All right, I will continue to finish this shape and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, I'll just finish off this shape. It doesn't really matter about this bit, so you can just make as much mess as you want because it's all going to be hidden later on. But before we do that, we still have our stroke on here. Head on up to stroke, click on that, and click the little white circle with a red line through it. And that gets rid of our stroke. Okay, so we've drawn the outline of these two. Let's just drag it off to the side. So I'm going to press V, the move tool. I'll just name that reflection. And we're going to grab both of these. So with the top one, hold down shift and select the second one. So they're both selected. And we'll just click and drag it off to the side like that. So now we're going to be choosing some colors for them. It's going to be a very easy process for this one because there's not many colors in this. So with the hair selected, there it is. Go up to the color tab here and we'll use this color picker tool. Click and drag across and that's chosen the color. I will head over to the fill. So click on that. And now we'll click on it and there we go. It's filled it correctly. And our stroke is a little bit thick, isn't it? Yeah, let's sort that out. So let's go up to the width of the stroke and just bring it down a little bit. 1.5 pixels there. All right, let's do the same with the reflection. So with reflection in the layers tab, because you can't actually see it's hiding right now. Should have done that earlier, really. So grab the color picker tool again, drag it across and click. The next thing we're going to want to do is stick this inside of that hair. Right now it's just over it, looks messy, I don't like it. So what we're going to do in the layers panel, you can see reflection there. Just click once on it, keep your finger on it, drag down and to the right. And what this has done is it's clipped the reflection inside of this shape. You can still go ahead and move it around and all that, but it's just clipped inside so you can't see what's outside, which is why I wasn't so bothered about how messy it was on the outside. Okay, let's go ahead and make this reflection here and these hair streaks. So I'm just going to click on top of the hair here. So next time we draw, it will be the layer above that. You'll see now. So I'm just going to go ahead and blast through making this little piece. This should be easy enough for you after doing that hair outline. Okay, we've got our outline. I will just make that fill white and I will grab the stroke and get rid of that. And I'll press the V, the move tool, and move it down a little bit. It looks like this reflection is transparent because you can see the other kind of reflections in the background. What you can do is head to opacity in the layers panel. Click on that and just drag it down till it looks similar. So that looks similar to my eye. There are other ways of doing this where you can cycle through all of these. Better if you have like a different color there, it kind of interacts with it a little bit better. But we're not going to use that just yet. So this is our reflection, not going to bother naming that, but I'll just drag that up. Okay, let's go ahead and make these streaks. Okay, grabbing the pen tool, I'm going to go ahead and create the first streak. So I'm going to click once there and once here, drag it out like that, head on up to stroke, click on it, let's make that black and no fill, we don't want to fill. I'm going to press V, the move tool, and just move it to the side like that. So looking at it, it's a lot thinner there and a lot thicker in the middle. Very easy to do on Affinity Designer. So I'm going to make it thicker first. Head on up to this tool here, and that's our change our width. Something like that should do. The next bit is pressure. So in here, you've got two nodes. If I just click in the middle here, just copy me and click on one of these side ones and I bring it down, you can see what's going on here. These two nodes kind of reflect what's going on at the end of this curve here. So I've dragged it down and this is the thickness in the middle. You see you can mess around with that much as you want, but we'll keep it in the middle. Yeah, so that's that bit done really. So let's go and create the other ones. So I'll just drag that back to where it should be. Okay, I'll create the rest of them. If you want to start a new layer, because we're going to start a new streak here, if I clicked, you see it continues the line. We don't want that. So I'll just press Command Z to go back. What we want to do in this instance is just press Escape. And now that shape is no longer selected and I can start drawing out whatever I want. So click and see we've got a new line here. We just zoom out a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of similar. Okay, and we just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So press Escape, press the next one, and I'll just start forwarding this section. Okay, all of our streaks and reflections are done, so let's press V, the move tool. And what we're going to do in the layers panel, they're all here, unnamed. Just with the first one selected, keep your finger on Shift, select the last one. Now hold your finger on Shift and click and drag to the side, and that will keep it perfectly aligned. Just kind of move it to where you think it will be. And we're going to have to put this inside of the shape of that hair, so they're all kind of clipped in together. So just like before, we click down and to the right, and that's all clipped inside of there now. And it can move around as one shape. Okay, let's go ahead and create the head of this character. And I'll just be tracing around this one, but if I was drawing out myself from scratch, I'd probably do this, and I'll just do a quick run through of what I do. So let me just drag this off to the side. So first of all, I drag out a guide from the side. So where this ruler is on the side here, I just click and drag out to the middle somewhere. I'll just make sure snapping is turned on up here. And you can see there's a green line in the middle, which means it's in the middle of the document. And the next thing I do is go and grab myself the ellipse tool, which is M, the shortcut. Click on that, it's basically your circle. And I just click and hold down Shift and Command, so it comes out like that. And we've got our circle, that's the main part of the head. I'd give it some kind of color. Let me get rid of the stroke as well whilst I'm here. So that would be the main part of the head, and then I would press the Move tool, V. I go up to this ruler at the top, click and drag down another one, so that's in the center of this circle. And this is kind of where the eyes would be, so now I'd need to make a chin area. So I'll just drag one more guide around to about here. I'd just grab the pen tool, maybe somewhere like that. I'll just do it quickly, maybe a little bit more actually. So that'd be the corner of the jaw, and then I go onto this pointy chin like this lady has over here. Just drag that down a bit, and I'd go up. And if I want to make sure that this pen snaps to where this is up here, you can have these extra snapping options at the top here. So I just click on this one, align to nodes of the selected curves, click on that, and then as I hover, you see that's kind of meeting up with that now. So I just click once there and once there. Give it the same fill, so grab the picker tool and click, it's the same color now. Now I press V, the move tool, and I'm going to duplicate that. So to duplicate, you press Command J. So Command J, and that's duplicated it in the layers panel you can see over here. And we're just going to flip that around. So go up to the transform at the top there, click on flip horizontally. I'll keep my finger on Shift and drag out to the right. So there it is. So I'd make all of this one shape, because right now they're three different shapes, as you can see there in the layers panel. So I'm going to select all of them. Say it goes to the layers, you can select it from here. Press Shift, select the last one. They're all selected now. Now I'll just go up to Geometry and press Add. And look, when I've done that, it's just one shape in the layers panel. And then I'll just press like A, the node tool. And I'd probably just delete a couple of these. Tell you what, I'll just drag it over those two, delete that, and you can see it's kind of smoothed off a little bit there. And a little shortcut here so that these jaws aren't so pointy. Let me make that a bit darker so you can see it. So to smooth that off, I'll just go up here to our trusty corner tool, click on that, click and drag over both of these, and then just click and drag in, and you can kind of see it's smoothing off that sharp edge there. So maybe I'll make it go to around about here, and then if you didn't want that being super pointy, that is super pointy there, but if you didn't want that as pointy, you could just go up here and do that. And once you've done that, you can just press Bake Appearance, and you can see it's all kind of locked in there now. We have new nodes. Change the color again back to that. If I grab the hair, which is over here, and drag it across, you can see it's behind there. Just click and drag that up in the layers panel there. There we go, it's kind of similar. You can play around with it to make it a little bit better, but that's your kind of basic head shape, so to speak. But we're not concentrating on that. We're just going to be tracing around it. But I thought I'd show you that little mini tutorial there. So let's just go ahead and delete that. Let's trace that jawline. Pen tool. And we'll just kind of drag these over. This is very messy. I wouldn't usually be this messy, but just go to show you can always make changes even if you make mistakes. Okay, so this is our head. So I'll just call it head there in the layers panel, and I'll just drag it underneath here. So click and drag it underneath the hair, and obviously it's not this hair. Press V, the move tool, and just click and drag it across to the side. As we kind of want to get everything to the center of this face, we will introduce that guide across from the side here. Keep going, turn your snapping on, keep going till we get to the center. There we go, we're in the center there with the big green line. I'll grab my hair and my head, and I'll just drag that off until, there we go, it's kind of centered around that chin there, you see? So we'll just kind of keep it there across to the side. So anything we make from this point, we can just drag it across and place it on our head. Okay, one thing we forgot to add is the stroke to the outside of the chin, this black line here. So we'll just go ahead and grab the head, go up to stroke. You can do it from here, make it black. You can see something's going on where it's still a bit thin at the bottom there. So there's our stroke. We can go to pressure and press reset. So there we go, it gets rid of that. Bit too thick, so let's sort that out and just drag it down. Okay, let's quickly make the body, the neck and the shoulders here and add that little shadow in down there. So grab your pen tool, just start clicking and making it. Okay, so I've made that side. I will just meet it in the middle here like this. Let's grab the color picker tool here, click and drag down. So we want this color here, click on it, and then we have our color. Okay, so grab the move tool and just drag it off to the side here. And you see it's now in front of the face. We don't want that. So we can just drag that underneath the head in the layers panel. We're going to duplicate it. So again, Command J to duplicate, and then we go up to transform, press flip horizontal, and now click whilst holding down Shift, click and drag across. So there we go, it snapped into place. Now we want to make these two shapes one shape. So I'll click once on that, hold down Shift, click on the other piece. They're both selected here. Again, up to geometry, click add, and now this is just one piece and you can name it body. Okay, there's one piece missing, which is the shadow underneath. So let's go ahead and create that. I'll just turn my snapping off, it's getting in the way. So I'm going to click once there and up like that, go around. There we go. And I'll just take this stroke off of this. So head on up to stroke, let's get rid of it. Click once. Okay, now press V, move tool. And again, we hold down Shift, click, drag to the right, and we'll turn on our snapping again here. So it snaps into place. As we haven't added a fill to it, grab the color picker tool, click, drag that onto that shadowy area under the chin, let go, head up to color tab again, and just click once and it will take that color. And we need to clip this inside of the head and shoulders. Easy enough, just grab it, down and to the right, and it's clipped in. That's all done now. Okay, quick little tip here. When you're moving the layers, like I have been in the layers panel, sometimes I don't mention it, but I will now. The hair is here. If you wanted it to go underneath the head, then that's what would happen. You just drag it up and down in the layer stack here. But an easier way of doing it is you could just select one of the layers like hair, keep your finger on command, and just use the left and right bracket keys to move it up and down. So like that. Okay, moving on to the more interesting part, which is the eyes. So let's have a look at them. So the first thing I'm going to create is this top half here, this top section, like the eyelash, and then I'll create the whites of the eyes. And just having a look at this kind of eye area and the iris and the reflection, I can see that this shape here is containing all of these other shapes because it's kind of cutting off here. So this is clipped inside of that main shape. So that's what we're going to do. But first of all, just use a pen tool to create this eyelash at the top here and the whites of the eyes, and I'll name it so that you can see it in my layer stack. So before I start tracing around it, I'll just quickly go down to my embedded document and bring down the opacity. Okay, so click once there and let's start tracing it. Okay, I don't actually want this stroke on at the moment, so I'm just going to go up to stroke and turn it off. I just want to see this kind of blue line here. Okay, and when we get around to this section here, I will forward this section, but we're just going to use that same trick again, that little shortcut, where I'm just going to click at the upper pointy bits and the lower pointy bits. And I'm going to keep my finger on command. I'm just going to drag it in like that so I don't have to draw each one out, so I can save a little bit of time. Okay, I've traced all of that. Now I'll give it a fill. So I'll just make sure fill is selected and drag it up to the black, and we'll keep it like that. For this one, we'll do that later, but basically we'll be saying, so for this lower part here, we'll be using the same technique we used to draw out these kind of streaks of hair here. So we'll do that later on, but now I'll just draw the whites of the eyes. So I'll just trace around that. Okay, that's the whites of the eyes done. I will name them both. I'll just call that one white and this one call eyelash. And I need to change the order of the whites of the eyes because obviously this bit's a bit messy and I want it to be hidden. So we're going to use that shortcut I told you about. Command left bracket key brings it down the stack, and now it's hidden. So now that I've done that, I will just grab both of them. Well, I'll press V, the move tool first. I'll select both of them and just drag it off to the side a little bit. So now I'm going to create the main eye section here, and it's just an egg. We'll use the ellipse tool for that. So I'll just click once on the whites of the eyes because we want it to be beneath the eyelash here. And I will bring the embedded document opacity back up so we can see the colors. And I'll grab the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to click and drag out. You see, if you just click and drag out, it's going to be a bit like this. If you want to drag from the center, just hold down Command and you can drag it like that and try and kind of guess where it's going to be. Press V, the move tool, move it around until we get what we want. So about here, it looks a little bit wider at the top here. So if I just bring down the opacity here, so we can see what's going on. So yeah, it's going a little bit wider here. So to make it wider, we need to convert this to curves. So what we did is we grabbed the ellipse tool, we dragged it out, and in the layers panel, it still says ellipse. So we want to get those handles back, those nodes, so we can start manipulating the shape a little bit more. So what I do is just head straight up to convert to curves. If I click on that, you can't really see much has changed apart from it doesn't say ellipse in the layers panel anymore, it says curve. So I'll press A, which is the node tool, or top left there. And there we go. We can see our nodes. When I click on it, I can see the handles. I'll probably just mess around with the handles until it kind of looks the same. There we go. We have our main shape of the eye. Press on the move tool. And let's bring up the opacity of that. Drag it off to the side. Somewhere kind of where the eye was. Let's just guess it around there. And we'll choose the color. So grab the color picker tool, choose a color, and give the color. It looks like it's gone underneath. Oops. So I'll just drag that on the layers panel going up. And you can see that it's also going above the eyelash. So we need to clip this inside of the whites of the eyes. So let's just go and do that. Just drag it down and to the right. Let's create this iris here. So this looks like an egg itself as well. So if I just did it by eye, instead of tracing around it, I could probably just press Command J to duplicate the main shape of the eye, and I'll call this one iris, and now we will change the color of it. So we'll head on up to Fill tool. This will give us our gradient. So I'll click once on that, click on the bottom once going up. If you want it to stay in a straight line, just press Command, and there we go, it stays in a straight line. And I'll leave it about here. Now we'll select our colors. So the bottom one, that little circle there, click once on that, and we'll grab the color picker tool, choose the lightest color, and that's done. Now we'll choose the darkest color up there. So again, drag it up there to the darkest part and click, and that's done. Now I'll press V, the move tool, and let's make this a little bit smaller, shall we? So I'll just press Command as I'm doing this, so it goes in from the center there. And from this point, I will just press Command J, and we'll duplicate that, and we'll make this one the pupil. So pupil, and let's just make this the same color as the pupil on the original one. And we'll make that smaller again. So Command, click and drag in. There's a couple of ways we can do this next bit. You can see there's a kind of shadow that's hiding some of the iris there. So what I would do, probably easiest way, is to just grab my pen tool and probably choose somewhere like that. Click, click, make that a sharp node there. Click somewhere around here and just click on it, and then it's kind of hidden it there. We could still move it around and change where we want that to be. Alternatively, you could just cut off the top of that, but we're not going to go into that. Check out some of my other videos. I do go a lot into using all the tools in Affinity. You can use the geometry tools to use one shape to cut into another shape, which is up there. It would be subtract. But for this one, it's easy enough to do it like this. So the next thing we need now is these reflections on the eye. So again, they're just egg shapes again. So I'll just grab our ellipse tool and I will click and drag somewhere like this. I'll make it white and I'll bring down the opacity. That looks kind of similar. I'll press V, the move tool, match it up to how that one is. And I'll just duplicate that again. So Command J to duplicate that, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so that's the eye section done. I just need to copy this bit here. So what I'm going to do, just going to click on the eye here, the white bit of the eye. So when we create our new layer, it will be above the eye. So it should hide that messy section down here. So I'll grab the pen tool. I will copy where these points are ending and go up to the stroke, make it black, click V, the move tool, actually, so we can see, get the thickness we want, somewhere like that. And again, go down to pressure, click in the middle, drag down, that's the same. And now we can just move that across to the side there. Yeah, that's hiding that messy section there. I'm going to grab the eyelash and this little bit, that's the lower part of the eye and the white, and we'll press Command G. And Command G will put it into a group. So now when I click and drag around, this will all move around like so. So I'll just click Shift, click and drag across to the side. Obviously it's gone under the layer, so what do? We press Command and right bracket to bring it up to the top. So on there one, you can see it's slightly going over the hair, so I will go and do that as well. So pressing Shift, bring it off to the side, somewhere like that. Okay, that looks about right. So just to finish it off, I will create this eyebrow and this extra section here and these little ones here, and we know how to do that already. So I'll go ahead and do that and fast forward it. Okay, the eyebrow on one side actually is flat and the other side is pointy. So what we're going to do is just click on that side, click on this side, and I'll bring it up a little bit so we can see the difference. And we don't want this bit to be pointy. So head on up to the width tool. Let's make it a little bit thicker. Head down to pressure and we just move that to the side. If I move this to the right hand side there, you can see it's got a rounded edge to it there. We don't want that. So if you go up to cap, it gives you round cap. That's like default. Or you can press butt cap and it makes it flat. Or you can press the other one, square cap, and it brings it out a little bit. That eyelash is done. And all I have to do is just drag that across to our one over here. Okay, and you can see the eyelash is going over the hair. If we go over to ours, it's going over the hair. We could probably make it a little bit thicker, so we'll go ahead and do that now. Go to the pressure. You can always bring that up a little bit if you want. To make it thicker at the end there, you can add another point in there. Okay, now that's done. I'm just going to duplicate the eyeball. So Command J to duplicate it. Go up to transform and just press flip horizontal and just drag it across holding shift so it's in a straight line, and just drag it to where the other one, where you think it might be. And we'll do the same for the eyebrow. Command J, flip it and move it off to the side like that. So on there one, it looks like that's a little bit lower than this one, so we will kind of copy that. So I'll just bring it down a tad. Okay, so what we're going to do next is just do these little bits. We've done these before, so I'll just speed through that. But before I do anything, let's just grab all of our eyebrows and eyes, and I'll just press Command J to keep them all there so I can move them around if I need to. And let's go ahead and create these streaks here. Okay, so I've made my first one, and I'll just drag it up here. If you want to duplicate, you don't always have to press Command J. You can always just keep your finger on Command, click and drag out, and it will make a duplicate of that. Obviously, you can see that's a little bit thicker, so you just do what you need to do to make it look the same. I'll name it under eye, and I'll drag it across to our one. And the other ones look pretty much similar. So what I'll do is I'll just press Command, click, and Shift and drag it across to the side like that. So it's kind of similar to where that one is. That looks a little bit lower on this one, so I'll just drag that a bit lower. So looking at the mouth and the nose, you can see that this is also a stroke like the ones we've created up here, and there's just a shape underneath, probably drawn out with the pen tool, I'm guessing. If not, they probably just grabbed a shape and they've just manipulated it, converted it to curves, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and make these. In fact, rather than use the pen tool to create this, let's use one of the shapes and manipulate it, see what we can do. So let's go ahead down here, mine says donut tool, there's a little drop down arrow there, press hold, and we'll go to maybe segment tool. In fact, let's grab the pie tool. So I've grabbed the pie tool and I'm just going to drag that out like that. Going to get rid of the stroke, give it the same color as this one here. So I'm going to grab the color picker tool, click on that, and we're going to drag one of these around like so. So we've got half a circle there. I'm going to drag that up, offer it up to my shape, maybe move it out a little bit. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut into it. I will show you how to do that now. Grab the rectangle tool, draw out something like that, just make it slightly darker so we can tell the difference. Press V, the move tool, and bring it down to about there. So now that shape is above this shape. In the layers panel you can see there. So what we're going to do is grab a rectangle and the pie, select them both. I'm going to go up to the geometry tools and press subtract. So I've pressed subtract now, and you can see that's cut it down a little bit. And these corners are rounded. I'm going to see what the corner tool can do for me here. So up to the corner tool, click on that. I will select both of those nodes on either side, and I'll just click and drag in like that. What I'm going to do is press bake appearance, and I'm going to press A, the node tool, and just bring that down a little bit more. So I'm just going to copy these by using what I have up here. So I'm going to press V, the move tool, Command J to duplicate that, bring it down. In fact, let's put it above it, and I'm going to grab A, the node tool, going to bring that out like that. So it's the same, and just straighten it up a bit like that one. Press V, the move tool, and you can move it back to the kind of center there where that is. And it's going to be the same again. So these two up here are the same as that almost. So Command J, drag it down so it looks the same. This is a little bit bigger here. So all I have to do is press Command and drag the side out a little bit bigger, drag it up. So all of the things we've just created, we're going to select all of them, press Command G to put them in a group. We're just going to call it mouth. So before I move it across, I can see that I haven't placed this mouth area in the right place. So if it's in a group like it is here, all you have to do to get to that bit is just double tap and it will go into your layers in the group. And I'll just press Shift and drag it down in a straight line so it's in the right place. Okay, select the group. Let's zoom out and just bring it to the center, and it should snap in place if we have our snapping on. So there we go, it's snapped into the middle. And the last piece I haven't created is the hair that's in the background here. So using everything I've taught you before, I will speed through this. So the last part I need to do is the hair in the background here. I'm just going to use the pen tool, and I'll probably duplicate that layer, flip it around and add it to that side. So I'm going to go and do that now. Okay, we've finished our recreation and we have all of these elements separately. And if I tried to move it across, it would do that and you'd see the pointy head, the reality. So I'll just press Command Z to go back. What we're going to do is package all of this up into a group. So go into your layers, select all of them and press Command G, and that will group them together. And we can call this whatever you want. I'll just call it character. Yeah, from this point, you can customize it to however you like, make your own version of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And sure, I've got a couple of tips left. So I'm going to duplicate this, Command J, drag it off to the side, and this will be our new one. So I'll just call it new in the layers panel. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the eyes as I've seen it in other anime sort of movies and stuff. So I'm going to zoom in and have a look at this eye. I'm just double tapping to get through the layers here. And I want to get to the iris. That's the bit I want to concentrate on. So this one here, I'm going to bring it down. And before I do that, look, it's not clipped inside of this shape. So I'm going to just drag it down a little bit and grab the iris, drag it down and to the right, and that clips it inside. So I'll just zoom out so we can have a better look. I'm going to make it thicker, fatter here, just by dragging it out a little bit and drag it down. So that creates a bit more of a shadow from the eyelash up there. And I'm going to change the color of it. So if you remember, we used the gradient tool, the fill tool, I should say, up here. That's G shortcut. So I'm just going to click and drag that up as we've moved it slightly. I'm going to choose a different color. So I'll click on the bottom one. Let's zoom in and I'll just drag that up so it goes to blue, and I'll make it a little bit lighter. And for the top one, I will go darker blue. Yeah, something like this works. That looks also cool, but we can do more. So look at the reflection. We can create a few more of these. So just press Command J to duplicate that one, and we'll make a little smaller version of it and just place it right next to it. We could just Command J that again to duplicate it. See, that's done a power duplicate because I pressed Command J again. But anyway, I will just make that slightly bigger. Okay, so that's our eye complete. Looks different, still looks pretty good. And obviously we just have to duplicate that and chuck it over here. So I'm going to delete this eye here, and it's reverted back to our eye that we were working on before. So just press Command J and flip it around. Go up to transform and press flip horizontal. Now we'll press on shift and click and drag over to wherever you think it should be. So somewhere like that works for me. And as you can see, obviously it's flipped the reflections on the eye. So I could just double tap to go into my reflections, and in the layers panel, I can see them all here. I could just go up to transform again and press flip horizontal, and then just drag it to wherever you think it should be. So maybe somewhere like that. Okay, let's zoom out. Our eye is complete. And the other thing you could do is add a blush to the cheeks here. So if I just click on the face once, you can see we're in the head here. And I'm going to go and grab the ellipse tool and just drag out a shape like that. Now I'm going to choose the color of it. I'm going to choose some kind of reddy, pinky. That's kind of a good color there. We're going to blur this out a little bit. So go down to effects, layer effects down here on the bottom right. Gaussian blur is there, and we'll just drag this slider up to around about here. Now I'm going to press on the move tool. I can position it, and then I'll just duplicate that, Command J. I'll click and drag that off to the other side as well. That looks pretty cool. The next thing, I'm going to change the mouth. So right now, this is the nose, this is the mouth, and this is the bottom of the lips, I guess. I'm going to delete the mouth, and I'm going to delete this top bit, and this bit here will be our new mouth. So we'll just make it bigger. Keeping your finger on Command and Shift, I'm going to bring it up a bit, maybe a little bit more than that. And I'm just going to make this slightly darker, something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to add a set of teeth to it. So I'll just go to the pen tool. And if I want to draw in a set of teeth and I want it to already be clipped inside, what I do is I have my mouth selected here. I'll just name it so you can see. Mouth, press return. Okay, so we'd go up to insertion and we'd click on this one here, insert inside selection. So I'll just click on that, plot a point, drag out somewhere like that, and end it around about here. And I'll close that shape up. I'll make it white, and you see it's clipped inside there already. I'll just press V, the move tool, and make the teeth a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're gonna make the tongue now. So what I'm gonna do is click back on the mouth. I'm gonna click on the pen tool, which is still on, and insert inside selection is still on there. So now we're gonna click and create the tongue. Okay, and the last thing we're gonna do with the mouth is add a stroke to this. As everything else seems to have a stroke. So head on up to your stroke make it black. That's a bit too thick there, isn't it? So let's bring down the width of it. So I'll bring it down to about here. And you can see that we still have our pressure engaged. And if I move it around, I'm not getting it to the place I want it. Basically, I want it to start being thin down here. So how would I go about doing that? Well, this is what I would do. I'd head down to the bottom node here, and I'd go up to Action, and I just click on Break Curve. So I've pressed that, and you can see it's now thinner down here. What has that done? Basically, it's broken the curve. So if I pull that apart, this is where the shape would end. So that's the start, and it would end there. And if we go up to our pressure, you can see this is the start, this is the end. So I'll just press back, and you can see we've got it thin where I want it to be thin down there. Well, we can change the hairstyle a little bit, make it a slightly different color. So let's choose some kind of pink color here. I'm going to go make it maybe something like that. And with the reflection on the top of the hair where the light might be, I'll do the same thing again. So I'll just grab the color picker tool, choose that, and then I'll make it a bit lighter from that point. And the other thing we can do is get rid of this at the back here, this green hair, and I will straighten up. And I'll sort these bits out so it looks slightly different. So I'm going to drag that up here, and I'll just kind of play around with this and forward it. And if we wanted to create another strand of hair or like some wisps of hair coming out here, just use the pen tool, make sure hair is selected or anything above there. And then we just draw out wherever you want it. So maybe it's like here, make a sharp end. I'll do that for now. We'll give it a fill so it's the same as the hair. And you see, if you make sure the pressure is slightly less on the sides like this, if I put it all the way to the side, it's kind of rounded. And if I pull that out a little bit, makes it a little bit more sharp. Press Escape to create a new layer, and we'll add one here as well. And if you want to create more streaks, you can do it as we were doing it before with the pen tool. If you have a graphics tablet, it's easy to use the pencil tool to do that. And you can apply pressure to it so it goes thicker and thinner. So that is it. We've managed to get a character from the stock tab. We've managed to recreate it in Affinity Designer, and we've also made some changes to it, customized it a little bit. And hopefully this tutorial gives you a little bit more confidence in going ahead and creating some of your own original designs and stuff like that. Just to finish this off, if you wanted to create this box around it like this one is there, just grab the rectangle tool over there and draw out some kind of rectangle like that, and press the move tool. We'll make that green, just like that one, and we'll Command J, duplicate that. Actually, we'll take the stroke off first. So now we'll press Command J to duplicate it, bring it in a little bit, holding Shift and Command, maybe somewhere like that. We'll make this white, and just to smooth off those corners, we go over to the corner tool, click, select all of the corners, and we'll just drag it in a little bit like that. Press Bake Appearance, click on the Move tool again. We'll drag both of those layers underneath our character layer, and you see here it's not quite in there. So what we do with the white one, we drag the character and clip it inside of that white box and just drag it down a little bit to hide that stroke at the bottom. Center it a little bit, and that's it. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've managed to learn a few things and become more familiar with Affinity Designer. Catch you on the next one.